20% is still a conservative estimate of the percentage of Muslims worldwide who have values relating to human rights and free speech that are really in zero-sum contest with our own. And I just think we have to speak honestly about that.
Clearly, Islam has a problem today, but there have been periods when Islam was at the vanguard of modernity. It was the place that preserved Aristotle and preserved science. So if it was Islam that was the problem, how come it was okay then? In other words, that would suggest that it is the social and political conditions within Muslim societies or the people now. In other words, clearly Islam has been compatible with peace and progress, and it is compatible with violence, I would argue, just like all religions.
Yeah, well, up to a point.
You know how in the past God was amazing doing all of those miracles and stuff, and as history became more documented, better documented, God became sort of disappointing. So I was just thinking about that. And I was also thinking about how difficult it is for Farid to defend Islam. I mean, we are awake. We can see what's going on. It's inexcusable. Islam is inexcusable. Muslim society is inexcusable. So the solution is to take the time machine. Because if we take the time machine, we can talk about a era that we know very little about. And we can point out to scientific achievements, and that somehow excuses Islamic values. Whatever it is you are worried about with Islam, is Islam compatible with Western values? Is it compatible with liberalism, with human rights? Don't worry, it's okay. Because some Muslim scientist invented stuff. Doesn't that make you feel all secure? Isn't this the essence of Eurocentrism? The idea that only Western values, only human rights and ideas like that can support scientific achievements and technological progress? I mean, forget the Russians, the Soviets, forget the Chinese. What about the Nazis? You know, this guy, this is Werner von Braun. He was a great Nazi scientist. He was a Nazi party member. And after the war with the Nazis, the Americans took him to the US. And they said, why don't we make this guy in charge on our missile program? He was in charge on building the first missile, the first rocket, that took the first American satellite into orbit. Now, his values were shit. He was a Nazi party member. But he had some skills. He was a good scientist. Because those two things are not the same thing. Modernity, technological or technical modernity, is not the same thing as being Western.
Clearly, Islam has a problem today, but there have been periods when Islam was at the vanguard of modernity.
I am so impressed. I am so impressed of the Islamic achievements. I mean, it was less horrible, less barbaric than Catholic Europe. Bravo. What the fuck is that? I mean, why am I to be impressed with those achievements? We are talking about the Middle East. Now it's a fucking mess. But it used to be the cradle of civilization. The place of actual technological innovation, where we invented the wheel, writing, the first cities, agriculture, math, geometry, everything was invented in the Middle East. Until you know what. So yes, in the first couple of centuries after Islam took over, it remained fairly advanced. And then nothing. Up until now, where now they invented the word Islamophobia. That's a nice invention.
Yes.
That's pretty good. We like that. We like that.
We do like that.
IT thing. Are we to accredit Christianity with the achievement of Isaac Newton? He was a Christian and he was working in a Christian university. Actually, he was obsessed with Christianity. We know that because he was spending 2/3 of his time writing about religion and religious history. Wasting his time. We could have gotten more from Newton if he wasn't obsessed with fucking religion. So obsessed with religion that he wouldn't admit Catholics into the university because he was supposed to be an Anglican, although he was secretly Unitarian. Do you think that Israel's achievements in science should be accredited with Judaism? I mean, it is the dominant religion. Of course not. Let me tell you. The Orthodox Jewish community they are not pulling their weight on the scientific front.
Let's look at some of the gadgets you have. I'm particularly interested in the phone. Is there not a cell phone?
It's not a cell phone.
Okay. Wow. That I have to say, that looks modern.
It is very troubling that we are living in a time in which we have to argue why Islam is not a promoter of science. Hundreds of millions of people read the Quran and they don't see the problem. Well, I want to point out one example. This will be our Quranic verse for this day. This is from the Surah of the Bee, Surah Al-Nahl. Have they not seen the birds obedient in mid-air? None holds them up except Allah. Indeed, in this are signs for those who believe. So what do we have here? We have some obedient birds. Obedience is the main theme of the Quran. And we have the proof, the sign for those who believe, the proof that there is a God, and Islam view on aerodynamics. This view basically is Allah holds the fucking birds in the sky. That's what gives them the power of elevation. Some Muslims, they read this text and they think, that's a good proof. That's really a big affirmation for my belief.
Come on! I believe, 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 I believe. Hey!
This is a sign for those who do not believe. This is a sign for those who do not believe that those who do believe are not to be trusted with their judgment, that their critical faculties are completely suspended, and that if there ever was a golden age in the Islamic Caliphate, it was never thanks to Islam, but rather despite of it.
Not a train!